everyone and welcome. I'm Diane and my passion is painting and creating in my studio. Every day I share a video with you on YouTube in which I paint and create all sorts of nature-inspired pictures. I also share loads of tips on how to make the most of your painting journey, interrupted fairly frequently by our family of dogs, cats, chickens and sheep. So welcome on board, click subscribe and turn on notifications, and let's learn to paint watercolor. One, two, three, four. And what have we got here? We have got Dioxazine mauve, a nice transparent mauve. We've got quinacridone purple. Come on, Arthur, now you settle down and have a sleep. You've had a game and everything. Then if we want a blue, I think Winsor blue red shade is probably the best thing to try there. We're going to swatch these out in a sec. And I've got Dioxazine violet. Let's see whether this is anything different. And then if we want to tint some of it red, we'll need a bluish red. This is alizarin crimson, that one. And I've got bronze, I've got gold, I've got iridescent medium. So we have Deca Colour Matte Acrylic Gold. I'm not sure if that's going to be shiny enough. I'm probably going to do this with the water brush because I think it might be quite an effective way. So this is, that is Dioxazine mauve. This is quinacridone purple. This is Winsor red, Winsor blue reddish. And this is the Dioxazine violet. It's much pinker, but not far off those two. So really, we've not got much variety there. We can alter them though if we add a little bit of alizarin crimson. How does that work with that? Yes, the phthalo blue or Winsor blue red shade mixed with Dioxazine or quinacridone violet is going to give us a bluish violet or a violet blue. Okay, so those colours will be fine. Fill up my water brush. Just repeatedly squeeze that till air bubbles stop coming out. Today we're going to have a go at painting a geode in some lovely shades of amethyst with some gold for the edging on the outside, and I think the cat wants to come out. No, Arthur, you can't. So let's draw the outside edge first of all, and so many decisions, it's difficult. So I'm going to we've got a slice of this geode that Tamsin bought me for a present ages ago. So anyway, so I'm going to do it so it's offset to one side of the page. And I'm just going to plunge into this. We'll see how it goes. That's just my outside edge. And then we're going to have lines going parallel, more or less parallel, but not exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Maybe if I start with the center, I should have. This is a drawing that, you know, doesn't require an awful lot of accuracy, I don't think. That'll probably do, and I don't know, but I kind of think it would be quite nice to have another one over here, just a smaller one like that. Okay, going to be on a white background, not going to be anything behind it at all. I'm going to start with a lilac-y blue colour. I need my test sheet here. Yeah, I'm not going to worry too much about the colour. So first of all, I'm going to make my way around the outside edge until the paint more or less runs out, and then I'll go back and wet that. So it bleeds. And then we do the same again. Just wet that. And then to make sure that we get quite a nice strong outside edge, a little bit of Winsor blue, a little bit of violet, reasonably strong, and then we just go around the edge of that and just drop it in like this. And we make the edge squiggly. This is really good practice for controlling your water, learning how to. You can apply this technique to so many different things, leaves and flowers and all sorts. I'm sure you can see how that would be. If you get back runs and things like that, it doesn't matter, because I'm sure geodes have all sorts of imperfections and things going on. But what you do want is to make the outside edge kind of irregular, I think. And then at the end, when it's all dry and we're done, we'll come in with the gold or bronze or whatever colour I decide to use for the outside edge. So that is good, and that needs to dry. And then the next line is going to be again the same thing exactly. So we'll just I think I can feel a need for a cup of coffee coming on here. So we'll let that dry. Oh, I mustn't forget this one, must I? So we come in and do that one as well. So again, go around the outside edge like that. And then if you're using a water brush, just squeeze the water out a little bit and spread it out and let all that bleed. If you're using an ordinary brush, just fill up your brush from your reservoir, your jar of water. Don't make it too wet. And so like that, and let it bleed. And then come in with a slightly darker, stronger, thicker colour, violet, blue, and just go around the outside edge, giving it a kind of slightly irregular. Dropping in the pigment and letting it just spread. And you can see how this one is already doing that quite nicely. So we'll let that dry. Okay, so this is now dry, and I'm going to come in now with my next row of colour. So I'm going to pick up some quite strong amethysty colour. So we'll just drop that along this edge here. And then we'll come in with our water layer. Just wet it so that it runs. And stop at the boundary where the next layer starts. So we'll let that do its thing. And if you don't want it to go very far, if you don't want it to go as far as that, just keep it slightly wetter. There's another way of doing it. You could wet it first and then put the colour in. I could do that. But I think we might, I don't know, I'm going to try that. We'll see how that goes. First of all, with my ordinary brush then, I'm going to wet the next line. We'll see how that works. I know I've said this before, but since I started doing this channel, I've painted an awful lot of things I've never painted before. I used to be really mostly interested in painting birds and occasionally flowers, which I used to sell on eBay and Etsy, and the occasional landscape, but mostly birds really. But since I've been doing this, I've branched out into an awful lot more things. So let's see how this goes. So we're just going to drop here into the wet. This is just another way of doing it. And this way you'll get less of a bleed. But it will still bleed into the area where you want it to go. So, and we can also encourage it. Once we've put in this line, we can encourage it to go down by wetting it a bit more. Fun thing about this is you can just jiggle it around. It's nothing to aim for. You just want kind of irregularity, more or less. There we are, and then, so just using clean water and not too much of it, just soften that edge. So we're doing what we call lost and found edges. The found is the edge that's hard, this sharp edge. That's the found edge, and the lost edge is where it blends away. I'm going to give that a bit of variety. Some places we're going to make it a little bit more dark, some places a bit lighter. So as that dries, we can see whether we prefer this way of doing it with an ordinary traditional brush, or whether we prefer that way, doing it with the water brush. And I think the next one will be on the blue side. And then after that we will go kind of pink, or maybe we'll go pink next, maybe we'll go blue next. Is this dry? Yeah, that seems to be dry. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so we'll let that dry, and maybe we'll drop a little bit of purple into the edge here, a little bit of bleeding in. I found my piece of geode here. It's a brown one. It's got lots of irregularities and lots of speckles and bits and pieces in there. Quite interesting. Okay. I'm just going to run the hairdryer over that, speed things up a little bit. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do with sort of more of a bluish kind of colour, and we're going to go around again the outside edge. And then we'll come back in with a clean brush and water and do our lost and found edge there. Just softening that edge up there, it's taking a little bit of effort. You want that fairly light. Nice, and I think this one we might put a little bit of really dark. I mean, this is a kind of painting that you can just do as you want. Just pretend that what you're doing is a geode and just make it up as you go along. Just kind of dropping it in. irregularly. And then the next one is going to be quite dark violet. And we're going to vary that a little bit by dropping in blues and purples. Make this quite a strong line, row, ring. Nice contrast between the light and the dark there. And where it's slightly damp, you're going to get some slight fuzzing, and I think that's quite nice to have that in a few places. And I'm just going to kind of give this a bit of variation, just by kind of playing with that a bit, with the colours. And then I'm going to wet it a little bit. I'm going to put a line of gold around there in a minute. First of all, I'm going to take a few coarse salt crystals. I'm just going to put those in just to that layer. This is an optional thing, but noticing that this actual geode has got quite a lot of imperfections in it, I think this might be a good way of doing that. And then I'm going to take my Molotov masking pen and just pump it to get it going. Hopefully it's going to work. And I'm going to put a line of white. This will be white, so it will look blue. I'm going to put that around the edge there to preserve a line of white. So we'll just come in quite close. You see how all of this is a technique for practicing. It's a way of practicing your techniques. Because when you're learning to paint, you need subjects, don't you, to learn on. And you don't always want to do something that's really demanding. So here we are practicing using a masking pen. And after we've finished the painting, we will be able to rub that off. Okay. Then my next section, I'm going to do the middle section there. So I'm going to do that wet in wet. I'm just going to drop some blobs of colour into that. So I'm just going to pick up fairly decently strong Dioxazine purple or whatever that is, with some blue. and maybe a little bit of red. Make that kind of irregular. And we'll let that dry naturally. And here we'll put one down here as well for the center of this one. Just keep that small on the small side. And we're going to leave that to dry and spread and do its thing. And now I'm going to come in to the outside edge. And I'm going to do an edge there with something shiny. And I've got a couple of options here. I've got some gold acrylic here, and I've got some iridescent medium, and I've got some acrylic lacquer in this is copper color, and I don't know which one I'm going to use yet, so I'm going to try it out. A piece of trial paper, whoops, move that out of the way. Little pot, little dish to try it in. So if we put a bit of this, I don't really think that's quite the right colour. Let's try it mixed with that. Try and add a little bit more iridescence to that with a bit of the iridescent medium. I'm sure that will be okay. And then I think we'll put that around the outside edge, because these things, they have this kind of, I don't know if you can see that, like that. They have this thing going on there. I suppose that's the outside of the geode. So the idea is to just sort of give a metallic-y kind of idea. So we'll try that, and I'll need a small brush. I'll try this one. This is one of my cheap Drawell ones, and we'll just have a go at embellishing the outside edge. The kitten has woken up. We've got to go shopping this afternoon for kitten supplies. He needs a lot more food. He's eating like a little piggy. And he needs a climbing frame, what do you call it, a cat, what do you call those things that they, cat tree. And he needs some more toys. he needs a scratching post of his own. There we are, that's looking reasonable, I think. And we'll put around here too. And then around here. I'm going to add a little bit of purple to that gold. When that's dry, we'll be able to brush off the salt and we'll have a little bit of texture there. Okay. And then we've only got one more section to paint. This is starting to dry. So I think I might put a little bit around here. Okay, now we need to let that dry. Now it's dry, I can just remove the salt, and I'm using a cut-up credit card just to scratch that off. You can use your fingers, but sometimes that makes things go smudgy and a bit greasy, so it's probably not ideal. So I've just loosened that all off, and then I'll use a brush to sweep that away. And that's left us with a quite interesting sort of crystallized sort of pattern there, which I think is quite appropriate for the subject matter. And then we're going to now, the last ring is this one here. So I'm just going to wet that. And then I'm going to come in with some lilac-y, bluey, same kind of colour. Not too dark. And we'll just drop that in here, up against where we've put the white. Well, it's blue at the moment. That will blend and then it will dry, and then we'll take off the masking. Okay, that's dry, and now you probably do need to get rid of this masking fluid with your fingers. It comes off reasonably easily if you just rub it with your clean finger or thumb. I don't know of a better way. You can use an eraser. I'm not sure that might work better. Yeah, that works. If you don't like using your fingers, that does work. I think it's probably better. Sometimes you have to feel your way a little bit with things, because sometimes depends on the paper too sometimes. So you can't, I don't think, I mean, there are no real hard and fast recommendations. It's basically a case of take advice, try it out, see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, do it a different way. I'm not keen on touching latex because I have a little bit of an allergy to it, but hopefully not really a contact allergy. So, okay, so we can brush that off. I will vacuum the floor later. So there we are, we've got our light line around there, which is just, that's one way of doing it. And now I'm going to take a look at this and see what needs to be done, what else needs to be done. I think I'd quite like to darken up these spots in the middle here and let them give a little bit more variety. And then another thing that we can do, if I was looking at this one, it's got sort of spots there, so there wouldn't be any reason not to do a little bit of spatter. So I think my trusty toothbrush hasn't had much of a workout lately. I'm just going to pick up some gold mixed with some lilac, and I'll just bring in a few dots. A few on that one too, perhaps. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of blue and a little bit of gold. It's kind of, I'm practicing with my iridescence for when I get my Jean Haynes iridescent set, which I'm going to be hopefully ordering from Amazon or Dick Blick. Have a look in the description below the video. Put some water in there, make that blur. Just water. And we let that do its thing. And then we think we need a little bit here. Okay, so we'll let that dry. We can emphasize some of the edge here by just coming in up against the iridescent goldy coppery kind of color and just do a line like that, and then wash out your brush and just using damp brush technique just touch against that and let that flow down. That's going to give you more variety. And again, looking at our original, has lots of small lines going round as well as the more prominent lines. So you could take a light wash and you could come in here, for example, and just add some sort of parallel lines like that and give that a little bit more interest. And you could smush it a little bit so it's not too definite. Again, a little bit lost and foundy. And you could come with a bit of blue down here. Like I say, this is really, my reason for choosing this was to give you something to practice your brush strokes on so that you can, at the end, hopefully have something that's quite attractive. And here I'm doing a bit more lost and found. I'm just re-wetting the dark area there because I want to soften that up a bit to make it a little bit more realistic. Because it's not all hard edges there, they're fairly soft. Okay, now we need to let that dry. Now it's dry. Now another touch that you could add would be a few dots with a gold pen. A few dots would be not unwelcome. And you could embellish this edge, for example, with the gold pen. You could just go around it in a kind of random sort of way. Squiggles on the dark sort of copper purple background. I think that could look quite nice. And then maybe you could add some up here as well. On this one, it's quite a nice gold pen, this one. It's I don't know what make that is. It says hybrid gel. Okay, well, I think that's finished. There's a final painting. I hope you enjoyed that. Lots of opportunities with this painting to practice your graduated washes, your lost and found edges, masking out, using salt, using wet into wet and wet on dry, allowing back bleeds and all sorts of back runs and various different things. So if you did decide to do this, you would be practicing all of those things, and I think that that can't be a bad thing, can it? So there we are, and I'll leave you with that as a possibility for your next experiment in your watercolor journey. So thanks very much. Give me a like and subscribe, and come back soon. I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye now.